Hello and welcome to this AIM webinar, Selecting the Appropriate Technology for Sensor Data Collection, a guide to application-specific solutions. First, a little bit about AIM. AIM is the Industry Association for Automatic Identification and Data Capture Technologies. We serve as a hub for quality resources covering all types of barcode, RFID, and mobile computing information. We also foster new auto ID innovations that stimulate market growth. We encourage you to get involved. Also wanted to inform you of some upcoming events that we have. Tomorrow we will be having the Women of AIDC kickoff meeting with our guest speaker, Lee Dow. So if you haven't registered yet, you still have some time. This year's AIM Summit will be located in Holtsville, New York from April 9th through 10th. Registration is still open, so please check that out and let us. And last, we have the AIDC 101 workshop that will be taking place in Chicago. Registration spots for this event are limited, so I would encourage you to sign up as soon as you can. If you have any questions regarding these events, please reach out to me at bethany@aimglobal.org. Now, our antitrust policy. It is the policy of AIM to conduct its operations in strict compliance with the antitrust laws. No AIM activities shall create even the appearance of a violation of the letter or spirit of the antitrust laws. And then a few other housekeeping notes. All registrants are muted upon entering the webinar, but we still want you to participate. To send a question, select the Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen. We'll get to as many questions as possible at the end of the presentation. Also, a recording of the webinar will be available in the coming days to those that have registered. And then I would like to introduce our speakers for today. We have Lionel Genet from Assign, who is the RFID Business Unit Manager, and Stefano Bernabobi, the RFID Business Developer for Assign. Thank you for joining me today. I'll pass along to you, Lionel.
Hi, thank you, Bethany, for the nice introduction. So we'll share the slides. I would like to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone, depending on in which region of the globe you are today. And we are really pleased with Stefano to start this webinar, this AIM webinar about wireless technology. So thank you, Stefano, for joining me.
Good morning, everyone.
Today we will discuss about how to select the appropriate technology for sensor data collection. And we'll give you some insights, I will provide you with some guide to application solutions. So our presentation, our outline, so we'll start by the context and the industry needs. So we think that this is very important to understand where you can use sensors and which technology you can consider and what the industry is expecting based on our knowledge. Of course, we are not pretending that we know everything, but we try to share with you all kind of data or markets insights we collected. Then we'll go through the technology overviews. It will be very difficult in half an hour, a bit more to go through all technologies that are available right now, but we'll try to give you enough big overview and comparison with regards to identification and sensor data collection in the industry. And finally, we'll finish with giving some example of use cases that we are seeing in the sensor world. So first, a few words about the context and markets. So we are talking about industry and sensors, and it's obvious to us that the industry today and different industries, they are needing sensors. We are clearly seeing a demand which is increasing, and it's mainly driven by traceability needs, regulation. So we'll talk about FISMA regulation, but also those sensors are able to improve process quality in several domains, which identified as logistic, agriculture, cold chain, of course, pharmaceutical, and also the industry or urban industry where health and usage monitoring systems are used for predictive maintenance. Of course, we can have a wish list of sensors, and ideally, a sensor should don't have any maintenance, or at least a little. So ideally, a sensor shouldn't have any batteries to avoid any extra cost linked to changing battery or managing that. It should be compliant with standard infrastructure, no proprietary protocol, because it's very difficult to largely deploy or to scale up. And of course, that's a request what we are seeing and we have been used to. It's low cost. But how to choose a technology? So that's really a key question. But first of all, we have to understand what is the context of the deployment and to choose the right technology. So depending on what is the communication range you are targeting, if you are indoor or outdoor, depending on the environment, let's say that presence of interference like metal, water, or even presence of other wireless technology, it can drive your choice. Depending on what you are trying to collect as sensor data, meaning data rate, you need to collect sensor every minutes, every hours, or really on the engine while it's rotating, number of device you want to get sensor data from to send that into your cloud platform, whatever, the lifetime, and the amount of data that you would like to transfer. Of course, it's very important when you talk about sensor, we will focus on the device itself, but it's very important to take into account the infrastructure. So is it available? What's the cost of this infrastructure also? And also the price target for the application, not only about the device itself, but also about the full system and the full solution that you want to deploy. And to us, from what we are seeing from the market and our exchange with solution providers and users, it's very important to understand customer and application needs. To us, it's really the key. So let's jump into which technologies we will discuss today. So of course, you can argue that there is many other wireless technologies that are dedicated to collect sensor data, like 5G or whatever, but we decided to focus on both active and passive wireless technology that are able to provide some sensor data in the industry or the identification world with a link to IAM activity. So at the bottom side of the slides, you can see well-known technology like Bluetooth Low Energy, Sigfox, LoRa, which are using batteries or to be able to communicate. And at the top, you can see what we call the batteryless technology or passive technology, like NFC or HF RFID, UHF RFID, which is also called RAIN RFID, and finally what we call ambient IoT, which is a technology which is quite new, but we'd like to discuss today. So maybe a table that you have seen several times. The goal is not to go through all the parametric and key features of each technology. It's more to give you some inputs regarding what is important and what are the best advantage of pros and cons from each technology. So on the right-hand side, you will have active technologies like BLE or LoRa. Of course, if you can afford a battery, if you can manage that, and if you don't really care about battery lifetime, if you want to get access to your data at a larger range, so I would say above 100 meters or few kilometers or tens of kilometers, of course, LoRa and BLE are the best technology. BLE, especially if you want to collect a large amount of data. Now, on the left-hand side, you have all the passive technology going from NFC through UHF RFID and what we call ambient IoT, which is based on Bluetooth Low Energy mainly. So in terms of reading range, of course, NFC and HF RFID is well known for being interfaced with smartphones, so very easy to deploy. Well known for security features, which are quite strong because HF RFID and NFC are both used for access control and for payment. So that's the only technology which is embedding security features right now. All others are trying to, but you don't have any real authentication or security. Now, jumping to UHF RFID at AIM or as a member, or if you know the technology already, you know that it's a technology which is very fast. You are able to get thousands of tags in a few seconds. You can get a large amount of data rate because you can interrogate tags very fastly and quickly. In terms of cost, it's widely deployed. I think last year, 2024, 54 or something like that, billions of devices have been deployed around the world. And in terms of infrastructure, it's very simple. You only need readers. The protocol is quite simple and has been widely deployed in many industries. And as NFC, you have no batteries. Almost the same for ambient IoT, same features, except that the reading range can be a little bit bigger, but the interrogation speed is slower. And in terms of infrastructure, because of you need to rely on wireless harvesting, you might need some extra device if you want to be able to operate in the way you operate in UHF RFID. So we are not pretending that we are bringing conclusion or on technologies, but we think that that's exactly what each technology can bring. And now if we jump to the next slides, where we are trying to explain explain what are the pros and cons of each technology, because to us, each technology has its own application and you cannot cover all the needs from the industry with only one technology. But if you are targeting a very low power consumption, something very simple and easy to deploy, you don't really care about the reading range and you are concerned about security, I think, or we think NFC and HFRFID is a good solution. If you don't care about managing with batteries, if you are looking for long range, compatibility with smartphones, of course, Bluetooth Low Energy is a solution. And if you are in the field, like farmers, if you want to track your humidity level, water condition in the plants or in the farms, LoRa is the only solution which can be used today. Now, in between, you have several technologies like ambient IoT and UHF RFID, which can be used for the use case that will be presented later on. But we think that if you have multiple tags to read and in your warehouse, for example, you need to be fast, you need to go through portals, UHF RFID is a right solution. If you can deal with the short read range and if you are not too concerned about security. Of course, UHF RFID, one of the main issue is the cost of the reader, but it needs to be compared to what is the cost of the real infrastructure, the amount of data and the cost of the data, like you can have in ambient IoT, where you are requiring harvesting modules. And most of the time you will have to pay for the data, but you will benefit from longer range and also low power consumption. Now I will switch. We will switch to the use case, and that will be presented by Stefano. So that's on you now.
Thank you, Lionel. Very, very clear. Thank you for this introduction about technology. So we will try to take real use cases and see how the technology that we presented can be useful for the different use cases that we are going to see. So one of the biggest is for sure transportation. Just to remember, we are talking about sensory. So we take as an example the temperature tracking in transportation. This is very, very important. So we need to store the information during the travel or send it real time over a long range. So here to make this kind of logging, we need some active technology. So BLE, LoRa, or even LTE, so 4G, 5G, can be suitable because we have a device which runs on battery and can be easily keep track of temperature and send it real time. Those devices are costly, so maybe you have one or two in your truck, and they are not really intended to be classical track and trace like we can do with barcode, QR code, or RFID. This is why we have seen more and more the appearance of readers inside trucks, so that the intelligence, we can say, goes from the device, from the Bluetooth or LoRa device to the reader. So this reader is embedded in the truck and can continuously energize the passive devices like the RFID, UHF RFID, or ambient IoT devices, make the acquisition, store them, and even transmit it to the cloud, thanks again to 4G connection, for example. And in this way, we can use the track and trace capabilities of UHF RFID and BLE, also for sensory, and we can go to the box level or the item level and not just the pallet level or the truck level. So we can be more granular and have an enhanced tracking capability. Another interesting use case is luxury. So when we think about luxury, we think about leather, fabric, storing condition of this leather and the fabric, which are sensitive to humidity and temperature as well. Since luxury is high value materials, it's very important to take trace of those materials. And we are seeing in Europe the appearance of the DPP, so the Digital Product Passport, which want to enhance the traceability from the material to the final product. And RAIN RFID and the UHF RFID in general is seen as one of the biggest player in this field because it can really guarantee track and trace. We can add sensory, and since it's very well established for track and trace, it seems the best solution for this use case. But when we talk about luxury, we also take about authenticity. So we want to be sure that the good that we are buying is really authentic, is genuine. So it can be of interest for a manufacturer to embed NFC tags. Those are easily readable thanks to smartphones. And so this is another use case also in luxury. And why cannot we use both at the same time? We know that tags with dual NFC plus UHF RFID are available in the market. And so we can guarantee traceability from the warehouse to the customer using multiple technology at the same time. So this really is this really depends on what you want to achieve, actually. Here's a big topic. There is a lot of discussion about it. So is the food freshness. You all know probably about FISMA Act 204, and for compliance, traceability is the key. So monitoring in the warehouse, in transportation, during storing, up to the store, and so on, is paramount. So we are looking for low cost, fast readings, and for this, UHF RFID and ambient BLE as the best candidate. Ambient BLE is a bit more robust about liquids and metal. It can be a little farther, but since you need energy harvesting, is a bit slower when you use some portics and so on. UHF RFID is definitely faster to scan a lot of tags at the same time. But again, it really depends on the needs and on what you are trying to achieve on the already available infrastructure as well. When we are at the store level, suddenly we can also use power plugs. So we can have some active trackers. And so in fridges, for example, we know that BLE loggers are widely deployed. They are easy to read thanks to the Bluetooth technology, which is available on smartphones, but reading device. So here, BLE loggers are very important.
Maybe if I add something about FISMA, sorry, Stefano, but you might have heard that FISMA regulation has been postponed from 2026 to 2028 right now. So some of our partners and customers are seeing that as an issue, but on our side, we think that that's a good opportunity for the regulation to find the right technology and to think about maybe with a few more years or a few more pilots to be able to evaluate and to try the right technology and to see what could be the benefits of any technology or combination of technology in order to satisfy food freshness in the supply chain to be compliant with the FISMA regulation. Sorry.
No. Thank you for your addition. And yeah, still food freshness, but this time we go a little bigger, going to the fields, growers and so on. So here we need very long range. The amount of data to transmit is maybe less big. So Sigfox and LoRa are the best protocols. They can, sure, they run on battery, so there is a bit of maintenance to do, but it's not a big deal. It can be done once or a year or every 2, 5, 10 years. It really depends on technology. And so data can be transmitted over kilometers. And this is something that we are seeing and that works very, very well. The last use case is about pharmaceutical. And this is a very good one because vaccines, sensitive drugs need to be tracked for humidity or temperature. And we see more and more need of technology also to avoid counterfeit because a lot of fake drugs reach the market. And so here, multiple technologies, again, ambient BLE, UHF RFID, NFC, for different reasons can be the right fit. For example, if we take the problem from a traceability point of view, during storing or at the hospital level, if we want just to make traceability, ambient IoT and UHF RFID, they are definitely more used. NFC can be used as well on conveyors when the reading range is very small, but it's a bit more difficult. And for inventory, it's quite the same story, but UHF RFID is a bit stronger on this one. About sensory, they are quite the same because NFC, UHF RFID, and ambient IoT have sensory solutions available. But again, the short reading distance for NFC and HF RFID is a bit penalizing. But about authentication, for sure, NFC can guarantee to the end customer that the drug is genuine and there is no risk, no safety risk, and is the only one of these free technology to be easily used with a smartphone. So at home, you can check the authenticity of the drug. Okay,
thank you, Stefano, for that. So few takeaways. So from our study and our overview of technology that can be used for sensor collection. So to us, it's really critical to identify customer needs. The question is, what are the most important features the customer needs or I need if I want to deploy wireless technology to be able to sense temperature, humidity, ambient light, or whatever. What kind of infrastructure I have in place? Do I have metal? I am in the field. I am in a very small warehouse, big warehouse. And what kind of technology am I using for supply chain, for logistic or whatever? Is there any existing software? What is the budget I can afford for to get the data? Do I need some kind of software as a service? Do I need to be in charge of collecting data and sending my own data to the cloud? Are my data sensitive? So the real question is not which technology. It's really what do I need to achieve or to meet my ROI or to solve my problems. So to us, even if we are engineers and we like technology, technology is just a mean. It's not the solution. The solution should be driven by the market, by the end usage.
Yes. And during this presentation, we really focused on radio links, so the technology, but we spoke very little about sensory topics. This is because when we talk about temperature, humidity, and so on, there are so many topics that requires a dedicated webinar. So, for example, which temperature range or humidity range, which accuracy, which resolution, which data rate, every seconds, every minute, and so on. So this is all another topic to take into consideration. And as we saw, sometimes multiple technology are needed to achieve the best solution able to answer all the customer needs. So I want to go to the end of this presentation with a keyword, which is pilot, because sometimes technology seems perfect on paper, but until you don't try them and test in your environment and for your use case, you don't know if the technology is the right one for you. So the best thing is to have a pilot, to take those technologies and try them and see if they can help you.
Yes, and on top of that, maybe even before trying, you don't even know what you need. So sometimes it's when you are trying something that you can figure out the kind of resolution of accuracy you need really for your application to solve your issue, your problem.
Yes.
And just a few words about Assign and our products. You all know, you might all know that Assign, we are chip providers, mainly providing UHF RFID chips with embedded sensor capabilities. So in our portfolio of products, we are having temperature and strain, which is able to monitor or to provide some data regarding extension and compression for concrete application, for example. Ambient light and relative humidity are widely used for agriculture and for wood tracking, for example, which are some use cases we are having. And we are also able to connect to, I would say, and I should not say that, but almost any type of sensors using IC that can connect to strain gauge, thermocouple, but also to capacitive type sensors like accelerometers. So depending on your application, we will be glad to talk with you regarding your request and how we can help you to solve your issues and your problem. I think that's the end of our presentation.
Yes.
Thank you all for attending. And if you have any question or comments, I think Bethany, the field is open for questions.
Yeah, so we'll get into the Q&A section of the webinar. Now we do have one question here. Is the FISMA 204 a globally accepted standard?
I don't know if global means worldwide, but for sure we saw that in the US is a big topic, and even if there is not exact the same regulation, for example in Europe, we saw that similar regulation are emerging, and I know for sure that there are some in UK. Even if I'm not actually an expert on this, but there is a push, I think, in all the geographic areas, even if it's not exactly like FISMA,
Yes.
but also the digital product passport, the DPP,
Yes.
goes in this direction. Traceability becomes the key. So track and trace. We say track, sense, trace because we think that the sensory capabilities is a big value, in track and trace, because it's not just matter of knowing where a product comes from, where it's going, when, and so on, but also how the condition of the product. And this is the key, I think, for the next future.
Yes, I agree. I think FISMA is really related to the US, but we have the same kind of request in Europe for traceability and quality of products and goods. And on top of that, I think it's also about food waste, if we talk about food. So food freshness, and be sure that we are not wasting too much food. And we are good that we are sure that the food quality is high enough to be sold to the customers. Question?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then another question we have here is the market sees impinges ICs as low cost. How could a sign's tags be seen also as low cost?
That's a very interesting question, but I think impinge ICs and chips are seen as mainly as for identification, just for asset tracking. They are providing in a very quick way at low cost identification and EPC number. ICs provided by Assign or offered by Assign are bringing added value, so sensors. And because you have sensors, you need to take into account about calibration, compensation, characterization, and it adds an extra cost to the IC. So sensor ICs will never compete with identification ICs because of course, the size of the IC is bigger, so there is a law between the size of silicon and the cost, but also in terms of test, calibration, and compensation, there is extra features, and as soon as you add extra features, you have an extra cost.
All right. And then another question we have is, how do you read the temperature from the tag?
If we take tags made with assigned ICs, that's very simple because our ICs, they are fully compliant with EPC Gen 2. See, it's just a read command into the user memory. You read at address 0 and you get the sensor data. So no extra software, no extra infrastructure, or you don't need to change the reader. Any reader, UHF RFID, which is used for asset tracking, can be used for sensor features. So that's only for UHF RFID. But I think it's the same for BLE or for ambient IoT or NFC, any type of device. So BLE, so smartphone or BLE gateway or smartphone can be used to collect sensor data from an NFC or HF tag.
All right. And then another question we have is, do these RFID tags call for radio license as they operate with radio frequency?
What do you mean by, if you mean a radio license, you mean fees for accessing the network, or what is?
The question is no more there,
Okay.
but I don't know.
Yes.
UHF RFID is standard. It operates on 865 megahertz in Europe and
Yes.
915 in the US. So it's a regulation that is well established, and there are standard frequencies.
Yeah, standard
so
yes.
It doesn't need for extra licenses.
Yes, UHF RFID is fully regulated by GS1 and ISO, so it's a well-known band, and we are allowed to communicate in this wireless band. So no, I would say no regulation, no extra regulation. But feel free to contact us if you need more information. So.
Right. And then another question we have is, the market presents in-play as a version of BLEs with sensors. How does this impact RFID tags with sensors?
The terms of tags is sometimes not very clear. So in the RFID industry, when we talk about tags, it's only about HF and NFC. So we like to talk about devices or sensor devices. And whatever the technology behind that, I think if it is BLE or UHF RFID, it's not very important. So I'm not sure I'm exactly answering the question, but tags is a generic term for a sensor device in our case, or in the sensor world, I would say.
All right. And then another question we have is do the tags log data or do you ask them for a temperature at a specific time?
Yeah, so our tags, RFID tags based on our technology are fully passive. So we have no capabilities today to log data. This is something maybe in the future, but not today. But so really easily, when the tag is interrogated, he will answer with the temperature at the moment of the interrogation. So
I think it's the same for all passive technology. So it includes HF, NFC, but also ambient IoT. They are only able to provide the data when they are interrogated, or in the case of ambient IoT, only when they collected enough energy from the environment to be able to send a message to the gateway. So if you want to do to log, you will have to use a product with batteries.
All right, and then another question we have here is, can the chips in RFID be tempered?
Good question. So if you talk about security or temper loop, to us, UHF RFID is not fully secured. So you can add an extra pin to add a temper loop, but it can be easily clonable. Even the IC itself can be clonable. And if you talk about security, of course, there is an access password, which is 32 bits. But with brute force, you can crack this password. So to us, if you need security and authentication features, the best technology is NFC or HF.
All right, and I believe that is the last of the questions we have today. So thank you, Lionel and Stefano, for joining us today. And if you guys have any questions, if you go to the next slide.
Next slide.
yes.
All right, here on the next slide, you can get their contact information if you want to reach out with any other questions. So thank you, everybody, for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day or evening.
Thank you for joining.